Thank you. To further weigh in, let's bring in reporting fellow for the Daily Signal, Elizabeth Mitchell. Elizabeth, thanks for joining us on Thanksgiving. Let me ask you this. It sounds great in concept, DOGE. I mean, every one of us knows that there is too much waste in the government. How do you think this will play out? Because it's not really a government agency. They don't really have any power to do anything. But a lot of people are going to be interested in what they come up with, aren't they?
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating idea to slash the debt, get rid of unnecessary federal employees. One really interesting thing I saw with this is they're thinking about getting rid of work from home days for federal employees. So they all would have to come into the office, no more sitting on the couch, maybe playing solitaire during the workday on the taxpayer dime. Federal employees are going to have to come in to the office. They're going to have to do their jobs that the taxpayers are paying for them to do. And it's interesting, like you just showed, that this really is something that people can get behind on a bipartisan basis, that no one wants their taxpayer dollars going to waste.
Yeah, other than the commute being worse for all of us that live in this area, the concept there also is there are going to be a number of people say, no, I don't want to go 5 days a week. And so some of those will self-deport. I mean, they will decide, yeah, I don't want to work for the government anymore, right?
Absolutely. That was actually something that they were saying, is that if people aren't willing to come in 5 days, then they need to find other jobs, that the taxpayers are holding them accountable, expecting them to do their jobs to the best of their ability. And if they're not willing to really take that seriously and come into the office, then they can find other jobs. So they're not just cutting jobs that are unnecessary, but they're kind of doing a bit of a self, like you said, deportation, where if you don't want to work in person, you can find another job, and they'll find people who are willing to come in and do their jobs as the taxpayers are expecting them to do.
Yeah, do you have a feel for the public support of doing something like getting rid of Department of Education? I mean, everybody would support getting rid of the IRS. That's not really going to happen. But there are many places that people are like, yeah, we've tried that. It's not working. And I think they also need to clarify. There are certain programs, for instance, in the education department to help those perhaps that don't have the money for food, maybe the Head Start program, whatever it might be. There are other ways to distribute those other than having what a lot of people feel is kind of an overburdened and too big a department, correct?
Yeah, I think that regardless of whether or not they're able to shut down the Department of Education over the next 4 years, they'll definitely have the opportunity to make it a lot smaller. There's tons of employees that are not necessary. People are saying in the Department of Education, a lot of DEI related jobs that are likely to be slashed. And so no matter what we see happen with this, I think we can definitely expect a large reduction of the scope of the Department of Education over the next 4 years.
Yeah, what I like about this conversation is I'm older than you are, and I remember in the 90s when it actually became part of the campaigns in which members of Congress were saying we need to balance the budget, and eventually they did. And we are at a worse point financially now than we were back then. So at least to get it as common currency in the conversation seems like a positive thing. But actually doing the cutting, it's easier said than done because there's a constituency for every program.
You're totally right. It is really great to see a group coming together saying we're going to do something about the trillions of dollars of debt we're in. One interesting aspect of that I thought was the plan to partially defund Planned Parenthood. It just goes to show that you don't even have to be pro-life to not want millions of dollars of taxpayer funding, lots of federal funding that we just don't have, going to abortion giants.
Yeah, good points all. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being with us. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you, you too.